Welcome back to the Charcuterie Launch Lab Podcast. We're really glad you're here. I'm Patti, and Sister Andrea is waiting in the wings, actually. We are actually going to finish up our podcast about events, going out and actually everything from beginning to end on if you're going to do an outdoor event, because we're coming into the spring season now. It might be really important for you to know all of these things that we talked about, and then realized after we were going on there was so much information that we thought we'd break this up into two. So this is part two. If you missed part one, go back to the previous episode. I think it's 14. This will be episode 15, and check that one out first, and then come on to this one, and we'll finish up our amazing, very helpful discussion. I mean, literally, we could have gone on a lot longer, but we'll try to pick up the rest of this at a later date. But we got all the info that I think we needed for getting through upcoming spring and summer events. So let's get on into it. Come on in. Let's hear it. Welcome to the Charcuterie Launch Lab Podcast, where passion meets profit. If you've ever dreamed of turning your love for charcuterie, or food of any kind, into a thriving online business, well then you're in the right place. We're Andrea and Patti, the Grazing Biz Sisters. With over 60 years combined experience as a chef and digital marketer, we have walked in your shoes starting our own online businesses. We'll share all of our tips, advice, struggles, and best strategies to help you launch and grow your own online foodie business with ease. The Charcuterie Launch Lab is a space for all food creators and entrepreneurs just like you. Let's dive in and get your yummy business launched online, one board at a time. So the event itself, though, the health department might have a special event. Did you say this already? A special event
they have
type?
special event, like temporary permits that we would have to hang. We'll have to hang those within the booth.
Okay.
And then the health department will show up as food vendor. They'll show up that day real quick just to make sure you've got your, your hand washing and your gloves and all the things that you're supposed to have are there.
Food handler's permit. So there's a manager version, and this is probably stuff you need no matter where you're doing this, but let's just talk briefly about that. There's like a manager's version for like the company owner, right? And then there's the schleppy worker like me who's going to come and help out. I know, it's been a while since I've had mine. I got to go. I'm going to be the schlepper.
Yeah, so I just told Patti this morning she's got to go get her food handler.
I'm like, crap. No, my real estate license doesn't work for this. Come on now.
Half an hour online for $10.
No, I know. I can do it. It's fine. I mean, I did it before.
You do need to do that. And again, your health department will tell you where to go for that. Give your employees the information if you have people.
Let's talk about really quickly the various ways that you set up a hand washing sink, because I know there's a couple, 2 or 3 ways. If you're going to be doing dishes and things, there's the 3 sink thing, right, that you have to do, as I remember that. But hand washing mostly is...
Washing is mostly just, they don't even I mean, it's better to have warm water in like one of those big igloo coolers. And then I usually just set like a bus tub or something below it so you can wash your hands, and you've got your soap and your hand sanitizer there. And then you want to use paper towels, not your everyday kitchen.
Now, I know a lot of us are talking about creating carts and things like that, and some of us might have, say, umbrellas that are over the top versus a, like a tent or like a what do you call the tent thing? The 10 by 10 pop-up tents. That's right, pop-up tents. I think personally, it's always a good idea to have coverage over your stuff. In Arizona for sure, because there is it's so stinking hot here all the time. Doesn't matter where you're at in the summer, it's warm.
If you have, so we all know that cheese is very sensitive. The fruits are very sensitive. If you decide to put chocolate on there, first of all, in the summer, I would tell you not to do it.
But that sounds good.
Because it will inevitably melt. I used to sell some chocolate muffin mix, and the chocolate was melting, turning into this big clump. So now I mix it up and I keep it, I only put like 2 out at a time. I do still sell it because it's a big seller, but anyways, we're going to use a 10 by 10 white pop-up that I have, and I do have sides to it because this is a 2-day event. We'll take all the food away at night and then we'll bring it back. but all the setup can stay there. And I have these clips with a tarp that goes around the
Right.
entire thing to protect it at night. And you don't want to leave food out because animals are going to get
Oh,
into it.
that's for sure, especially where we're going to be out in
Every
the open. But
market,
also, I think that just so you know, that most of these events for 2 or 3 day events are always going to have security guards around, and they're not just going to leave it open for anybody to just
no, they're
wander
not.
on in
But I
there,
mean, this
right?
is the way to protect your stuff from, let's say, a storm blows up or something in the middle of the
Right.
night, which I've had that happen. I had that happen
Yeah.
when I was out at another wine
Yeah.
festival,
It wasn't
actually.
that
And
long
it
ago.
just like,
If
yeah,
the shit
just
was hitting the fan, everything was everywhere.
so hard. And I had bought, that was when I bought the tarp to go around the outside of my tent, and I was thankful that I did.
You had
And
it.
I had these huge clips that you buy at like Home Depot or Amazon, and you just hook them onto the corners of your thing, and that
Right.
saved all of my stuff
Well, I'm
that night.
telling you, and if you've never done an outdoor event and you have these pop-up tents up, you want to be sure you've got weights on
Yep.
the corners because it doesn't take much, really. A little gust of wind and the whole thing will go flying. It happens all the time.
I shoot for 35 to 40 pound weights on each corner, and I use so every pop-up tent has
Has
like
a
a
string.
string that comes down to hold the canvas. It's meant to like go into the ground if you were using it for camping, but what you do is you take that string and you hook it up to your weights as well as to the pole. And I'm knock on wood, never had my stuff blow away. And I have been through 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Whew.
Joke, no joke. 80
Yeah.
mile an hour wind gusts here in Chino
Yeah,
Valley
it
at it.
does get crazy up there.
And it's
It's
stayed.
always blowing up
Everybody
there.
else blew away, but I stayed in place.
Well,
I was
hey,
like
but
holding on to my stuff, but
yeah, your stuff on the table might have got knocked
yeah.
over a little bit. So
It
that, and
did get
that,
it
what
blown
are you going to
away, but
do?
people were there to save me with that one. All the customers were helping me. We're all like, "Oh my God!" You can see the dust devil coming from a while away. We all were bracing. But
So
anyway,
you brought up the cooler. Let's talk about temperature control because we are kind of worried about that and in the heat, or because most of us are either going to have humidity problems. We don't, but or wind or heat, right? In general, the sun beating down. Cooler wise, like you bring a big. I know if you're by yourself, bringing a big cooler is kind of tough because you got to try to
it's
schlep this stuff yourself. But what is your tips on,
so we
coolers and
are
keeping things cold and
right.
rotating it out and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
I've been working all week on a catering list for you all.
Oh, good.
Because a lot of the questions that I'm getting on our Facebook group, again, start your charcuterie business. I get a ton of questions about that. So I decided to put together my own curated list, and they are all Amazon products. Of course, go wherever you want to get them,
Yeah.
but they have the links and everything. So in this case, Cambro is the premier restaurant catering thing. Like literally, you put something in a Cambro with a couple of cooler gel packs that I also have on that catering list, and it will stay cold, like
Hmm.
cold, all day long for 6 to 8 hours. So that's something that I can pick up and move around by myself. Your everyday igloo coolers, they just don't seem to hold that temp the same way that a restaurant catering cooler does.
Yeah.
So food for thought. It's a
Or
little bit
Yeti is pretty big if you got the money for
Yeti is,
those.
yeah, if you happen to
Yeah.
have a Yeti, that'll work.
Yeah.
Because it will hold that temp literally for days, as will the Cambro coolers. So, again, those things are listed on this catering list. I suggest, that you download it and, just go through it and see what you can afford and what you can't. If you are going to use an igloo cooler because that's just what you have at home or whatever brand it
Hmm.
is, just be prepared to put extra ice and extra ice blocks in there. And, again, I have a suggestion for these gel packs, which are not expensive,
Yeah.
and have them all ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. Just throw them in the
Then,
freezer, get them ready.
what I just remembered that I didn't put on that list was a thermometer. So I will add that to the list when we get done
Oh,
here.
yeah. Good call.
You need to have a
So,
restaurant thermometer to check things and make sure everything's holding temp.
but you are recommending that if they're going to be cutting, you're going to be, you don't want to unless you're forced to, cutting anything up while you're out there, depending on what it is, how you're doing this. If you've got a cart, that's one thing. If you're just building little boards or cups or whatever you got, you're really recommending that they do this ahead of time and do it and not do it out at the scene if they can help it, right?
If they can, yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people maybe will get caught off guard, maybe with the number of people. But in order to speed up the process, because people, while you do kind of want a line of people, because
Yes.
that
Hello. I
attracts
would. Yeah, I
one
would.
person, two people standing in
Like
line
what?
makes everybody go, what are they making? So you do want a line, but you don't want a line that everybody's waiting 5 minutes for you to throw together
Yeah, no.
charcuterie
Yeah.
box that's 5 by 5 or whatever. So you want to have everything pre-prepped. And then I put them in baggies. I also have plastic containers, that you can just put in there. But I find that baggies work best because you can manipulate and kind of move it
Yeah,
around ice blocks and such.
that makes
So that's what
sense.
seems to work better if you're not smashing anything. When it comes to fruit, I put those in a hard-sided container.
Right.
So that's how you do that.
Okay.
It's just
And what other things should you have there? Cutting boards, obviously knives just in case, gloves,
I think the cutting, but we're going to have the cutting boards because of the way we're serving things.
yeah,
I don't want to have too much of that kind of equipment because, like you
takes
said,
up
then you get
space.
stuck in this situation where you have to have cleaning water and
Oh
all
yeah.
that jazz. And I don't want to deal with all that. It's one thing if we're just cutting bread and we're cutting, I don't want to cut cheese or salami or any of that stuff on site. I want to have it all ready to roll.
Ready.
And if
Yeah.
we run out, we run out. Great. Like I said, the worst case
Seriously.
scenario is we're going to have your RV, so we're going to run back and prep from there because we can do that in Arizona.
Yeah, yeah,
Other people cannot. So
yeah.
prep as much as you
Again,
think you need.
bring as much as you can. And that's why knowing what the head count there, and I would be asking the event people that are said that have done this. Hopefully, it's not a brand new event this is brand new and no one's ever done it before and have no clue how many people are going to show up. But I also would be asking as well before I would even sign up is like, what kind of marketing do you
Yeah,
do for this? What can we
for sure.
expect? And that way you can get kind of a better idea and you figure not everyone who comes there is going to be buying from you, but at the same time, like if let's say there were 20,000 people there, what percentage of people do you think would actually be, I know it's kind of
Right.
random, but
Well, they try to give you a good idea when it comes down to the food vendors. They'll try to give you a good estimate, especially if they've done it before and they know what they're talking about.
yeah,
They're gonna be on top of that because they want to see it be successful not only for them but for you, and that way you'll come back
come
every
back.
time,
And I
especially if you
think
really like what you have, which these I know these we're gonna kill it. I mean, I'm
I
not
know
even
we're going to kill it, and
worried about
but the other part to think about is that even though there may not be other charcuterie, and I don't think there is in this event so far, but other charcuterie vendors there, how much other food is there? Because people might, it's kind of spreading
right.
out the vote to what people want to eat, right? And so, if there's a zillion food vendors there, are you going to probably sell a little less because people would rather have a hot dog, and there's an option there for a hot dog, right? So, and
Exactly.
they're going to fill up, but.
Right. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of times where the market might put all the food vendors in one spot with tables that they can sit at. In our case, I'm going to ask them not to do that with us, because I feel like we need to be mixed in with the
With the
wine
wine.
vendor.
Yeah, I think
So
that's a good call on
that's going to
that.
be in
Yeah,
my
if
comments
you
when I
can do it.
finish this. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they can do it, and I'd rather be mixed in because
Okay.
we're just better
What
off
about
that
what about signage and branding and just ways to get attention out there and what do you put on the signs and all that kind of stuff as and
Well,
pricing
I
boards
have a
or
banner.
whatever. Yeah.
I have a banner which goes across it hooks to the back of
Hmm.
tent. I just use, or my canopy. I just use bungee cords to hook it up and it just goes across the back. I have cards on the table. I found that putting the banner on the table, so hooking it to the front on the table, just blows all over the place and nobody sees it.
Sees it because people are standing in front of
It
it,
does
right?
better
They don't know
behind.
what it is you're selling.
Right. And I have a
Right.
QR code on there. Always suggest the
Yes.
QR code so people can just scan your website. The QR code is on all of my cards as well. So even if they don't take one, they can just scan it. And then I have signage on my table of all the prices of,
Prices.
yeah. So
That's good.
I have individual signs, and then I have, if I can fit it, sometimes I can't, depending on what I'm doing. Um, like an 8x10 or a 5x7 smaller thing that just sits up. And then of course so we're going to roll into how to take your payments,
Yeah, let's
but
talk about that right now because I was
okay.
just going to ask you. Yeah.
So the payments in my case, because our system offers it,
Mm-hmm.
we have what do you do? It's like
Point of
you,
sale, the point of sale that you can,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
it's a
there's
tap to
different
pay
ways.
on the phone. Tap.
Or they can scan over a QR code either way.
Right.
So our system does that. But if you come
Right.
to the Charcuterie Launch Lab, we have
We'll take
all
care
these, we have this whole thing set up already.
none of this square and all that crap.
Yeah, well, no, don't
It's all
Venmo
incorporated.
me, send
Yeah.
me an
Although
IG.
I
Hello, no.
do offer, in my case, I do have Venmo. So I have the little signage with the Venmo, the Cash App, and what was the other one? Cash App, Venmo. I don't do Zelle because Zelle for some reason doesn't work with my bank. They're kind of particular. And there's another one. I have three of them. But Venmo is the one that most
Yeah,
people.
there's Square, which is just kind of a well-known one. PayPal
Yeah.
also has a thing, but I
Oh,
hate
PayPal, that
Venmo
was
and
the
Pay. Yeah, Venmo and PayPal are owned by, well, PayPal owns Venmo, but I'm just not the biggest fan of that whole setup. But for various reasons, there's so much phishing going on with those two.
other.
But there's that. So some people might be
I
leery
do
about
like to pay
those.
with Venmo. Of all the other
Yeah,
payment methods, it's Venmo. And
yeah,
I don't have any issues with it necessarily, but
yeah.
I know that other people have too. Now, the key to that one is make sure you have service. The last event I was at, I didn't have
Oh.
service for whatever reason. One
Dang. So what did you do?
basket didn't have it. There was a lady there who had been at this event before. This was the first time I had done it. She had been at this event before and she knew the service was bad. She brought her Starlink
Well, yikes.
and
Well,
she
luckily
let
you have
all the
one.
vendors hook up to it. Thank God.
Wow.
Because I would have lost, I don't know how much money.
Yeah, if they
Almost
didn't have cash.
everybody pays with some sort of card or
Card.
whatever.
Yeah, you
And
want
I
to be
could have
able
been
to accept that kind of payment if you can and not count on cash.
right.
Obviously, cash is king, but
That's the
most
thing.
people aren't walking around with it anymore.
I
So
know,
you got to be
I know.
prepared. And if you are going to take cash, and even still, you probably want to have some change on hand, I
Oh,
would.
for sure. Yeah, I usually bring 50 to
Yeah.
$100. And it's all fives and ones.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
everything I have is at a dollar price point, so I don't have to deal with change. And
Yeah.
that's the easiest way to do it. So with that being said, I'm gonna unhook my Starlink. I use
I think it's
Starlink
a
up.
good idea. Yeah. No,
I'm
it's
gonna
a really
unhook
good
it
idea.
and bring it with us because I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah,
No,
no, you can't risk that. That would not be
no.
good.
And luckily, so.
Yeah, no. So, okay, so now people are coming up, you've got your signage and all of that. Do you have samples? I mean, how do you deal with samples when you're dealing with cheese and things that get hot in the sun? And,
Well, so I don't think that doing the cheese and the whatever, we're not going to do samples.
we could
Simply
take a
because
picture. Couldn't we do ahead of time and take a photograph of it
for
and have a
sure.
nice
Oh
big
yeah.
image there
We're
of
gonna have
it?
a nice big image of it,
Okay.
what the product looks like and everything. But and people are gonna see us making them anyway, because I
They're going to
fully
be
expect
walking all around billboards.
people are gonna see
Our customers are going to be our walking billboards, right?
right,
So,
right.
yeah.
So I'm not too worried about that because as far as samples, it's the same stuff everybody can buy at Costco. So there's really no point in sampling out. In my case, I do sell mix. I sell soup mixes
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Yeah.
So I do make samples of that and they just go in little cups and they sit in a chafing dish. But I don't know
Right.
if we'll do that this time around. I don't think we will because I don't want to deal with it. But when I'm on my own, that's what I do.
Yeah.
And it works great. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about samples if you're doing a charcuterie cart.
I wouldn't be worrying about it either because people they know what cheese
We're
tastes
gonna see
like.
you. Yeah,
You don't have to
right.
sample that.
I mean, yeah.
But what was I going to say? There was another question I had about that. Well, anyway, I think oh, I know what it was. It was the sandwich board. Like so, depending on where you're located in in the event, putting like a board. I know you have one that is, I call it a sandwich board because
Oh, an
it's
A-frame.
an A-frame type
Yeah.
with a hinge on the top that will stand on the ground to point people to you so that if people are walking by, they get to be able to see it if you're allowed to do it. So
Right.
that's one thing. You got to make sure you're allowed to do
They
that.
don't allow you.
Yeah, because you're going to trip
But
people or whatever.
most, I would say 90% of the shows that I go to allow me to put that out. I have a super duper heavy one. I find
Hmm.
that the ones that you actually buy online are not heavy enough, and they blow away. Again, we're in a windy place, so
Yeah,
I have to be cognizant of that. So I use some old I had replaced all my kitchen cupboards a while back,
I
and
love that thing.
my
That's a good
husband
idea.
put them in he put them in the shed, and I forgot I had them, and I used those. Those things weigh a ton. You kill somebody with those.
Yeah,
So
that's a good
that's
idea.
what I use, and they never blow away.
They're heavy.
So yeah, you want a little A-frame if you can, and whether
Or
it's a
well, a big one for the ground is what I was talking
yeah,
about.
exactly. So it's an
Yeah.
A-frame. It just goes right in front of your booth, and that way I have arrows pointing, to my products, and this is what I'm selling, and people stop. They always stop when they look at it, going, "What? What are you selling?"
Yeah.
So it's a really good thing to have too, if they let you do it. A lot of places don't, by way of they don't have enough space in
Right.
the aisles. So
Right.
they don't want, and inevitably somebody trips over it, but it doesn't, they just realize it's there.
Yeah.
So
Hey, real quick, it's Patti here. If you've ever thought about turning your charcuterie skills into a legit money-making business, or if you already have a board biz that could use a serious upgrade, then you've got to check out the new short video we just dropped at grazingbiz.com. It's called Start or Grow Your Charcuterie Business in Under 30 Days, and it's packed with how to get started from our over 60 years of combined experience as a chef and marketer. We want to help you go from just for fun platters to a full-blown online business. We're talking websites, automated ordering systems, pricing calculators, and even marketing templates and how to build your list of customers. We give you an entire business in a box that you can launch in less than 30 days. Go watch the quick video now at grazingbiz.com. If you've got the passion, we got the plan. Let's get you selling boards before the next holiday rush. Again, that's grazingbiz.com. See you there. Okay, so one last question and then we'll go. But I mean, I'm like, how do people determine how much they can charge? There's a lot of things that go into an event because of the cost of being there and all of that, but also obviously the ingredients and everything, just all the way down to, did you get little, toothpicks or whatever? I mean, so I guess on that regard too, with regard to packaging, because people are walking around with these things. So we've got packaging things to consider. We don't want things falling off, or if it's a handheld item, let's talk a little bit
and in
about
our
that, and then
case,
how you would price this so you know that you're going to make as much money. If you've never been to this event before, how do you know, right? So that
well,
you
you take,
get away with.
this is what I would do, and this is how I work it. You take our charcuterie calculator,
Yeah.
figure out what, one individual thing is going to be. And in our case, we're not really going to offer, I may come up with a vegan well, no, I won't. I won't come up with a vegan version. I might come up with a version that doesn't have like the salami on it or something. So maybe we'll add more cheese to it because there's some people that are hung up on that. But anyways, so you figure out what your product is and everything that's going to go on it, including the cost of the vessel that you're going to use to serve it up with, and the fork,
Everything,
everything. Yeah,
whatever it
everything.
is.
You figure it out and you figure 2 napkins per person or whatever. And then, when you do your calculation, you want to say, I want to make I want the cost to be 10% of the price. In our case, that's probably what it's going to end up to be because of the cost of the event.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so therefore my normal 20 to 30% cost on any given board or something I'm selling, from my charcuterie business itself is going to drop because of the fact that we need to make up for that cost of the fee.
Yeah, we got to, I mean, I still
And
don't
the
think
time,
the fee doesn't sound that bad, but we
it
are going to
does.
be there for a number like hours and hours. So you've got to
Right.
consider what you're
Time.
paying yourself for the time to be standing there. It's,
Right.
unless you,
Right.
and if you hire somebody, same thing. If somebody's going to be, you're going to hire somebody to stand there,
Right.
So I
You
think
want to
that's really
factor in
key.
like, whatever you think you want to pay yourself, would it be 30 or 40 or $50 or an hour or whatever it is. So that's all going to come into play
Right.
throughout the weekend. So you're seeing, an hour for setup, an hour to break down, and then all the time in between at whatever rate you want to determine to pay yourself.
Right.
And then you factor in that, and that's how
I
you
mean,
come up.
obviously, you don't want to price yourself right out of the market either, as
Right.
far as, oh, I'm not paying $50 for that
Exactly.
board. I mean, or
Exactly.
whatever it is, but yeah.
As I'm filling out this form, I am kind of, because I haven't sat down and done the actual calculation, I'm questioning whether I don't want to go over this amount because
Yeah.
I don't want to like scare people off either. And you don't
Right.
want to like all of a sudden in the middle of the event go, you know what, I'm not going to charge $25, I'm going to charge 12 or whatever. You
Give
don't want to
me,
do that.
yeah, a couple weeks ago you were talking about and then we'll go, but you were talking about the lady at the event that was doing a charcuterie
Oh, yeah.
cart, and she was charging, what'd you say, $6
Wait, oh
for
my
us. It
God,
was like
dollars.
ridiculously no money.
Dollars. I walked up to her cart and was talking to her. And I was selling other stuff. I wasn't selling any charcuterie that day, but I walked up to her cart. She had kind of a strange setup. She had the regular charcuterie setup. The other key to being in a vendor is make your space nice and neat and clean and organized. That lady
Yeah.
had stuff all over the place and things were sitting on the ground, and it
Uh,
just was not a good look. But anyways, I don't like to tell people how to do their business. I just like to advise. So and then I looked at what she was selling, and it was just this little boat. It was a small boat, but it was only $6, and she paid $200 to be in that spot. She was on the inside of that ticketed place.
yeah.
And I'm looking at it, and I asked her, I go, so how you doing? And she goes, oh, it's So my thought was that she wasn't making her money back. And the reason she wasn't is because she priced herself like ridiculous. Like I would have never. $6 is way too
Well,
low.
and on
It,
top of that, people were probably turned off by just walking by her messy area, right? And
I
so,
totally 100% agree. It was just she had the cart itself, which looked nice, but then she had all this crap, around it, and it just wasn't organized and neat looking. And you want to make sure that people feel confident about what you're, that what you're doing, and you don't want to look like that. It
yeah,
just,
yeah. So then,
make it look
well,
nice and neat. Even
yeah,
if
if you're
you're
going to spend all that time and energy getting set up at something like that, don't screw yourself up by doing something that's so simple to fix, right?
is.
So
It
it's kind of
is.
dumb.
I was shocked, and I just kind of did this whole, oh, well, no wonder.
Yeah, no, what it makes a lot of sense. You're not making any
Yeah.
money.
You were underpriced, and you were, a hot mess.
Right.
So
And so, okay, before I go, because I keep thinking of stuff really quick, what do you wear? What do you wear? I mean, are you
I wear my chef's coat. I wear my
okay?
chef's coat.
You
I
do,
have a
okay.
short sleeve
When it's a food
one.
related thing, yeah, yeah,
Right. So I have a chef's coat that is it has short sleeves for here in Arizona. The whole reason anybody wears a chef's coat in a kitchen is for the long sleeves. It's meant to protect your arms from
yeah.
burning. But in this case, we're dealing with cold food. So
Well, I
I've got
have
a
an idea for this. I think we need some really bright pink color t-shirts that have our branding on them. So I think that'll be fun. And they'll know when they walk up,
yeah,
we'll have some nice
or a
t-shirts
t-shirt.
on.
Yeah, or a t-shirt with, a
Yeah.
nice apron.
Yeah, you
That's
could do that.
just
Nice.
something that looks
Get your
professional.
hair back. Don't,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't want to be
Yeah,
or
look
wearing a
like you would
hat.
look if you were, yeah, if you're in a regular kitchen, you don't want your hair flowing all over the place and,
Right.
that kind of stuff. You need to look professional and neat and clean and all
Right.
that.
Oh my gosh, we could go on for hours with this
I
whole
know we
subject.
could. I didn't realize
I
that.
mean, and I feel like I want to, but I know we're getting into this too deep, but maybe we should make this part two.
Yeah.
Anyway, am thrilled with being able to offer this kind of advice and service because of both of our backgrounds. And I think you should be telling everybody too that you're going to be at the event so you can bring people there and then hopefully get some feedback. if you're able to get Google reviews, I mean, that's all part of what you're doing. Take a lot of pictures, take a lot of photos. Make sure that you're documenting everything you're doing, because this is the great stuff for your websites, great stuff for your social, post social if you can. And I certainly will be doing that while we're out at any of. We may be doing a number of events over the summer, partially because I want to get out of the heat. We all want to get out of the heat down here. So find me cool places to be, and that's up in northern Arizona.
Right, which is where I'm at. So
which is where
she's
you're
like,
at. So
let's
it
go
works
do
out.
something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm all for it. So, but anyway, it's going to be great. So if you're looking for more help, definitely tap into us. We have everything you need to get your entire business started. We have a demo now. If you want to watch and learn more about what it is we do, you can just go to grazingbiz.com. We help anybody launch and grow an existing business if you have one, with regard to your food / charcuterie business, really whatever kind of food you might be selling. We're really into that, obviously, as you can tell. So go to grazingbiz.com, but go ahead and check out our notes. Andrea mentioned this list. I was telling her I want to get it in here if we can. We'll try to get in a link to it. It may not happen instantly because we want to get this out today if we can, but I will eventually get in here and put a link to the list that Andrew's talking about for the vending. So we've got that. But yeah, follow us everywhere that you want to follow us, and tell the world if you love what we're doing. We'd love for you to, leave us a note, give us some high fives, comment, give us a rating anywhere, because we want the world to see us, and that's how it happens, by you giving us feedback. And we know we're hitting a note with a lot of people, because our feedback so far on our podcast, which has been crazy. It's just what Andrea and I do every day of the week, is yak up everything. So
Sorry, this one went long.
yeah, and I mean, we got plenty to talk about, and we might as well just record ourselves because it's just so fun. And anyway, we're glad you're here. So come on back. Any last words of wisdom for anyone wanting to go do this stuff?
Go out there and do it. I get a lot of people that are hesitant and scared to death and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, start small and grow big until you feel good about it. That's my suggestion. So also, in addition to the catering, what I'm calling a curated catering supply list, that will be down in the notes, hopefully, with this. If it's not, it will be shortly. And then the other thing that I'm working on is a charcuterie, or not even charcuterie, just a market vendor checklist, so that
Nice.
hopefully I can give you all the information in one long list of all the things that you should be knowing for any given market, whether it be farmers markets, craft markets, whatever wine festivals that you decide to join up on.
Nice.
So look for those.
Yeah, and if you haven't tapped into, Andrew mentioned the charcuterie calculator. In the show notes here is the link to get our free charcuterie calculator that our very smart brother created for us. He's a former computer programmer, and Andrea and him sat down and worked on that to help people to price so that they don't lose money when you're making these things and selling them. So yeah.
Don't charge $6, okay? Just saying. There's no way that lady made any money. No way.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. Sorry.
It was bad.
She's got me giggling now. Oh my goodness. All right.
She had $3 skewers on top of that. And I'm like, you're killing me. I had to walk away. It was just like
the skewer stick itself cost
yeah.
Oh well. All right.
Poor
lady. I hope she's listening.
I hope she's not. I don't know if she knows who I am. So anyway.
All right. We'll get the hook. All right. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us. See you next time. Or next time. See you later.
Bye.